Hi there. This video is intended to give you further information about OpenRocket, and we're going to focus on graphs, and I'm going to show you another little detail that it'll give you some additional information about your rocket. It's going to help when it comes to building your rocket. So let's start with graphs. This happens to be a simulation of a level 1 rocket. And some things I want to point out is, as you probably already know, you can see different colors represent different graphs. So we've got the altitude in red, the vertical velocity in blue, acceleration in green, and you can see those graphs up here. A couple things to point out is that the altitude, notice, is on the left axis. Some of the altitude is positive, some of the altitude is negative. On the right axis, those are the values for the vertical velocity and the vertical acceleration. Some of those are positive and some of those are negative. Across the bottom is our time. Time is in seconds. Now notice that I've chosen, I'll show you how I did it, I chose altitude to be in feet, my vertical velocity is in meters per second, and my acceleration is in meters per second squared. You have the power to change that as you wish. Also keep in mind, as you've been learning your Khan Academy physics, there are times we want to pay attention to when velocity is positive and when velocity is negative. Also, when is acceleration positive? When is acceleration negative? When particles are moving around, how velocity and acceleration work together, being positive or negative, tells you about what the object is doing. And that shows up in this graph. So those are some things to pay attention to. Some other things you can do with this is you can zoom in. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to click and drag a box. There we go. And you get to zoom in as you do that. You can zoom in again if you wish. If there's times you want to look at something specific on the graph, that's one way you can do it. Another way, you might be interested in looking at something going on down here. Take a closer look. Get more of a detailed look at some positive values, some negative values. Notice that this is 0. We've got acceleration that's negative. We've got velocity that's positive and negative. Not seeing the altitude in this particular zoom in. It also tells you things like this. Recovery device deployment. That's your parachute. Apogee. Those are marking where those events are occurring. Now it's this screen that lets you change some of those things and you can adjust it. To the right here, those are the things that I have chosen that I want to keep track of when I look at this data. You can play with that. You can't hurt anything. Go ahead and play with it and try different things. Over here, you can see what I have on the vertical axis, the y-axis. Remember, we have altitude. That was being shown on the left. We have vertical velocity and vertical acceleration. Those are being shown on the left, on the right-hand side. Notice the altitude. I chose feet just because I wanted to, just to show you it can be done. The vertical axis on the left. Velocity and acceleration, meters per second and meters per second squared. And I just said, you put them where you want. OpenRocket chose to put them on the right-hand side. Again, the horizontal axis is time, and we're looking at a vertical motion versus time graph. And then you got your data table. Data table tells you a lot of things, like I said in the video earlier. Launch velocity, how high this is going to go, velocity of deployment, what type of delay do you want, and you should know more about delay now after we've met. Maximum velocity, 184 meters per second. This thing is going almost 2 football fields per second at its fastest. That's pretty fast. Acceleration, how long does it take to get up, how long is it in the air, and what's the rate at which it's falling. Remember, we want that number between 5 and 6 meters per second. So this graph gives you a lot of information. Let's look at another feature of OpenRocket. Let's go back to our rocket design. Something else it does for you is quite cool is you can get a printout of details about your rocket. I've chosen all of these. You can choose the ones you wish, but I'll just show them all to you right now. Preview and print. And on the first page, there are several pages. This first page is your rocket design. There's your rocket. Tells you some details about the rocket. Gives you some performance information about your rocket, like we were just looking at. Further down, gives you a complete parts list of your rocket. What are all the things that you have in your rocket? What are they? What are they made of? What's their shape? What's their length? What's their mass? All that information is right here. This one's really handy. If you have indicated to OpenRocket what size tube you're using, like T60 or T70, or if you specify whatever inch diameter the tube is, this is a template that you cut it out and you wrap it around the base of your fin can. And if you have indicated the right diameter for your fin can in OpenRocket, it will fit perfectly and it tells you where to cut for your fins. This design had 3 fins. Once you wrap that around, it'll show you the places to put your fins. Very, very handy. And this is the exact size, so you just cut it out and use it. The other thing that's really handy is it'll show you, if you print this out, you'll get an exact size of a fin. So that's really handy for a template. You can cut that out, use that information to design your fins. The rest you won't need. You have centering rings, those are already there for you. You have a nose cone, so you don't have to worry about that, but it's a very handy document. So you'll want to print that out and use that information. You don't have to print out all pages, just print out the pages of the information that you want. Come see me if you need some help getting a printer on your laptop so you can print this out. So I'll close that out now. I think that's it for now. Just a couple of things about OpenRocket. They're pretty handy. It's a very, very powerful tool, very easy software to use. Make sure you ask questions if you're not getting something, and enjoy building your rocket.